This massive giant carried a cold and deeply selfish heart.
I cannot face
His
this any
refusal to
longer.
share his lovely
I must
garden
turn my
would
back.
soon summon an endless freeze. Would his bitter spirit thaw before isolation destroyed him? Walk with us through his lonely winter and witness a profound miracle. Every afternoon after school, local children went to play in the giant's magnificent garden. It was a large and lovely expanse filled with soft, green grass. Beautiful flowers stood up from the ground like bright, shining stars. 12 peach trees stood throughout the sprawling grounds. In springtime, these trees broke into delicate blossoms of pink and pearl. Autumn always brought rich and heavy fruit to their sturdy branches. Birds sat quietly on the leaves and sang sweet melodies. The children stopped their games just to listen to the birdsong.
We're free.
They felt truly happy inside this vibrant
We're
paradise.
Here. We're finally here.
Then, one fateful day, the owner returned. The giant had spent 7 years visiting his friend, the Cornish ogre. His conversation had finally run out.
No further.
Returning to his own castle seemed the only logical choice. Upon arriving, the sight of children running across his grass shocked him. Anger boiled inside his massive chest. A booming, terrifying voice demanded to know what they were doing.
Help! It's the giant. Run!
The children ran away in absolute terror.
Watch out for the pebbles. Move it.
This garden belonged entirely to him, he declared loudly.
You are not welcome here.
Nobody else
Never
would be
again.
allowed to play within these walls.
HNNGGH.
A massive stone wall was quickly built
HNNGH.
entirely around the property.
H-A-ha-ha-hey.
A large, threatening notice board was also erected. It promised severe punishment for anyone who dared to enter. Selfishness had completely poisoned his massive soul. The poor children now had nowhere to play their joyful games. They tried playing on the dusty road. However, the road was full of hard, sharp stones. They wandered around the high wall after their lessons finished. Sad whispers echoed about the beautiful garden hidden behind the stone. Spring soon arrived across the entire countryside. Little blossoms and cheerful birds filled every neighboring field. Only in the selfish giant's garden did winter remain. The birds refused to sing there because there were no children. Without children around, the tall trees completely forgot to bloom. One beautiful flower put its head out from the grass. It saw the warning sign and felt deep pity for the children. Slipping back into the ground, it went straight to sleep. Only the snow and the frost were pleased by this desolation. "Spring has forgotten this garden," they cried in joyous celebration. Living there all year round became their delightful plan. The snow covered the grass with her great white cloak. A coat of silver paint was applied to every tree by the frost. The howling north wind was eagerly invited to join them. He arrived wrapped in thick, heavy furs. Wild, destructive roars echoed about the garden all day long. The strong wind easily blew the chimney pots down. "This is a delightful spot," the howling wind declared to his friends. The destructive hail was soon summoned to join their icy party. Every day for 3 hours, the hail rattled on the castle roof. Most of the slate shingles broke under his brutal dance. Fast, icy footsteps ran endlessly around the frozen garden. His breath felt just like solid ice. The giant sat at his window and looked out at the frozen landscape. Understanding why spring was so terribly late completely escaped him. Hoping for a sudden change in the bitter weather brought no comfort. But spring never came, and neither did summer. Autumn gave golden fruit to every other garden. Yet her golden bounty completely bypassed the giant's land. "He is too selfish," Autumn declared plainly. It was always winter there, ruled by the wind and the hail. The endless winter feels hopelessly cold, wouldn't you agree? If you hope our massive friend finds warmth, subscribe and show your support. One morning, the giant lay awake in his large bed. Wonderfully sweet music suddenly drifted to his ears. The delicate melody sounded unbelievably beautiful. Perhaps the king's musicians were finally passing by outside. It was really only a tiny linnet singing outside his window. Hearing a bird sing in his garden had not happened for years. It seemed to him the most beautiful music in the world. The fierce hail stopped dancing above his head. The north wind ceased its endless, roaring rage. A delicious perfume came to him through the open window, Spring must have finally arrived, the hopeful giant concluded. Jumping out of bed, he looked out into the daylight. A truly wonderful sight awaited his weary eyes. The children had crept in through a little hole in the wall. Peaceful little figures were sitting safely in the tree branches. Every tree held a little child upon its sturdy limbs. The trees were so glad to have the children back. Fresh, vibrant blossoms covered the ancient wood completely. Gentle branches waved happily above the children's small heads. Birds flew about and twittered with pure delight. Flowers laughed as they looked up through the green grass. It was a beautiful and heartwarming scene. Only in one distant corner was it still winter. It was the farthest corner of the garden. A little boy stood entirely alone there. Being so terribly small prevented him from reaching the low branches. Wandering around the frozen trunk, he cried very bitterly. The poor tree remained covered with frost and snow. The north wind still blew and roared above it. "Climb up, little boy," the ancient tree urged. It bent its branches down as low as possible. The child was simply too tiny to reach them. The giant's heavy heart completely melted as he watched this. Realizing his profound selfishness brought immense guilt. The stubborn absence of spring finally made perfect sense. The massive giant resolved to help the boy reach the top branch.
You will go and retrieve it from that
Knocking down the
giant
stone
wall.
wall became his ultimate goal.
Do not fail me.
His grand garden would become a joyful playground forever. Deep regret finally replaced the selfish ice within him. Quietly creeping downstairs, the gentle giant opened the front door. Bright morning light greeted him as he stepped outside.
Oh no!
Seeing him approach, the local children were absolutely terrified.
Run! Quickly!
Fear drove them to run away as fast as possible. Cold winter immediately returned to claim the empty grass. Only the tiny little boy did not run away. Bitter tears completely blinded his eyes to the approaching giant. The towering man stole up quietly behind the small figure. Lifting the child gently, the giant placed him in the tree. Beautiful blossoms instantly erupted across the old branches. Joyful birds flew down to sing lovely songs upon it. Reaching out his small arms, the little boy smiled.
You are home now, little one.
He flung them tightly around the giant's thick neck.
I missed you.
A gentle kiss was planted on the giant's cheek. Watching from a safe distance, the other children paused. They clearly saw the giant was no longer wicked. Laughter echoed as they ran back through the broken wall. Spring eagerly rushed back in right alongside them.
Come, children.
"This garden
Behold
belongs
the garden.
entirely to you now,"
It is
the giant
beautiful.
declared warmly.
Truly wondrous. Ha!
Grabbing a great axe, the huge man demolished the wall.
Up and at it, little
Villagers
ones.
going to market discovered a wonderful scene that afternoon.
Well done indeed. I'm going to
The
top.
giant was happily playing alongside the cheerful children.
Look at us, we're flying.
It truly was the most beautiful garden they had ever seen. Joyful
Let's
games
go,
continued together all day long.
Follow me. Skipping, skipping, skipping. Goodbye.
In the evening, the children came to
Fare
bid the
you
giant
well, my
farewell.
children.
Goodbye.
Questions about their tiny companion were quickly asked by the giant. That specific boy held a special place for giving the gentle kiss.
We don't know where it went.
The children answered that they did not know.
Perhaps it flew away. Look.
The boy had simply gone
Through
away.
the gap. The star.
Please, children. I want to be
Begging
your
the
friend.
children to
Just
bring
one
him
more
back
chance.
tomorrow
We don't
was
know
his
if we can
only
trust
request.
Not after all this time.
Where is it? We
The
can't
children
find
did
it
not know
anywhere.
where the small boy
It's
lived.
gone.
They had never seen him before that morning. A deep and terrible sadness washed over the old giant. Every afternoon when school ended, the children came to play. However, the special little boy was never seen again. The friendly giant treated all the local children with great kindness.
Thank you.
Yet his heart deeply yearned for his first little friend. Memories of the tiny, gentle child were frequently spoken aloud. Wishing to see him again became his constant thought. Many peaceful and happy years quietly passed by. Age eventually made the giant very old and quite feeble. Joining the energetic games was no longer possible for him. Instead, a huge armchair became his favorite resting place.
Yes.
Watching the games brought him immense daily joy. Deep admiration for his flourishing garden filled his twilight years. These children were considered the most beautiful flowers of all. One winter morning, the old man looked out his window. Hating the winter cold was no longer in his nature. He simply knew the tired spring was resting. The sleepy flowers were just taking a well-deserved nap. Suddenly, he rubbed his tired eyes in sheer wonder. His gaze locked onto the farthest corner of the garden. A spectacular tree stood covered entirely in white blossoms. Golden branches drooped heavily with shining silver fruit. Standing underneath was the very little boy he had loved. Profound joy propelled the giant hurriedly down the stairs. Fast, eager steps carried him across the frosty grass. Drawing closer, his
You will
old
not
face
touch
grew red
my
with
tree.
sudden anger. He fiercely demanded to know who had dared to wound the child. The delicate palms of the child bore prints of 2 nails. Cruel nail prints also pierced the small, pale feet. Promises of slaying the attacker erupted from the protective giant. "These are merely the wounds of love," the child answered softly. A strange and powerful awe washed over the giant. Slowly sinking to his knees, he bowed before the tiny figure. A bright, beautiful smile beamed from the child's face. "You let me play in your garden once,"
Behold,
the boy
the
remembered.
garden is yours once more.
"Today you shall accompany me to my own garden in paradise." Running inside later that afternoon, the children stopped in shock. The giant lay completely still beneath the golden tree. He had peacefully departed, covered entirely in white blossoms. True kindness eventually transforms the coldest of hearts. Love opens the final gate to eternal peace.